Well, right now, some new questions on how the United States is handling the crisis in Syria and whether a switch to diplomacy following a chemical weapons attack that killed hundreds of people is only helping to keep President Assad in power. Douglas Feith writes in the Wall Street Journal saying, quote, Secretary of State John Kerry labors to enlist Assad in an arms control project, even while alleging that the dictator has used nerve gas in violation of Syria's obligations under the 1925 Geneva Protocol. U.S. policy is not to oust the Assad regime or even to encourage the Syrian people to do so. President Obama has now created a U.S. interest in preserving Assad in power. Now, we showed you a little bit of this earlier in our show, but President Assad spoke to our own Greg Palkot and repeatedly denied using chemical weapons, insisting that the UN report that came out is at least inconclusive at this time. Douglas Feith is the author of War and Decision, Inside the Pentagon at the Dawn of the War on Terrorism. He's also the former Undersecretary of Defense for Policy for President George W. Bush. Doug, nice having you in the program.
Good to be with you.
Why do you think our interest is now keeping Assad, the same man that we're saying murdered his own people? Why are we now preserving him in office? Why do you believe that?
I think that President Obama has essentially changed the subject. Instead of focusing on the reasons why Assad must go, he's now said that we want to work with Assad as a partner in eliminating Syria's chemical weapons. And what that means essentially is that what Assad has done, I mean, assuming that it is he who did this chemical attack, that would be perhaps the most successful chemical attack in history, because Assad is working on preserving himself in power, and as a result of this chemical attack, he now has eliminated the threat of an American military strike, and he's preserved himself in power.
And you're saying essentially we need him as a partner now because he's the one that says he'll work with the UN and Russia and give up his chemical weapons.
I think that's the administration's view.
You know, I've asked lawmakers about this from both parties who did not want military intervention about elevating Assad to a new level and doing this deal and going the diplomatic route. And their response has been, well, we don't want war. So this is the alternative, and we don't want war, so this is what we're going to do. What about that when experts say, you know, the devil that you know is better than the devil that you don't, and it's okay to leave Assad in power because we know who he is?
Well, I think there's a strategic picture that Syria fits into, and that is Syria is Iran's most important ally in the Middle East. Syria, the Assad regime has been extremely hostile to the United States and was instrumental in helping the forces in Iraq that were killing Americans to do so. I think the United States has a strong interest in the defeat of the Assad regime. I do not believe that that requires the United States to go to war and land people on the ground or launch an invasion. There are many things that we can do short of an invasion of Syria that could assist the rebels in getting rid of Assad. And as I said, I think the key thing is to see Syria in its strategic context and to see that America does have a very strong interest that the large Iranian and Russian investment in keeping Assad in power is not a success.
Doug, nice having you in the program. Thank you.
Nice to talk to you.